I want to support the president and disagree with my two colleagues. One, we do not have a law, the so-called 2015. I think it's just a policy which has no legal effect. We do not have a bail act, we do not have a bonds act, and therefore the issues concerning bails are usually left at the hands of the individual magistrates. Of course, there has been an argument that probably we need to come up with a bail act, but even if we were to provide for a bail act, the provision of the Constitution will still reign supreme. Number two, my colleague here, Mr. Dismas, appears to be suggesting that the president should superintend judiciary. He doesn't have those powers. It's upon judiciary, using its own wisdom, to ensure that the decision they are making, they do align with public interest. And for instance, the examples that he has given, he has asked the question concerning why is it that Mr. Okemo extradition case has taken too long, together with these other co-suspects. The truth is, those cases have stalled in court. The matter went to the High Court, and then it escalated to the Court of Appeal. I hear now it may go to the Supreme Court. So it has nothing to do with the president. The president is more than ready and willing to have those suspects taken out of the country to face trial. But those people, they go to court, they maneuver, they get a court order, that process is stalled. Well, again, look, a case of Mr. Obado. You find there are about 5 or 10 suspects. All of them make an application for bail. Then the one who gets bail, only one person, is the one who has some political clout. So what kind of a message are you sending to the Wananchi? So the presumption, the assumption to Wananchi, once you give such kind of a decision, is this is a system that is tilted in favor of the rich and the powerful, whereas the common Mwananchi, who is also facing the same crime, appears to not be getting fairer treatment. So I think what the president was saying is that, yes, everyone needs to get into the train, which train is about fighting corruption. It's a train about fighting impunity. It's a situation where we must ensure that you don't send negative signals out there to the people who are trying to fight corruption, or even witnesses. There are several instances where people have gotten bail or even bond. Then once they go out, they use their position either to steal documents or even to intimidate witnesses. And therefore, the whole idea of fighting corruption is negated. So I think what the president was trying to say, yes, okay, you are independent, but please ensure the decision you are making, they do rhyme with the public interest. And the public interest is people want to see these people at least facing some kind of justice or some kind of strident treatment. Right. You have seen people, for instance, moving one distance to another using a chopper, surely, and then when, let's say, a prosecutor makes an application to seize or even to freeze those assets, that application is dismissed.
Dunstan, the senator basically saying that the judiciary is easily manipulated. How do we close these loopholes in terms of seeing more people behind bars and many of these funds that have been taken to foreign accounts returned to the country?
Thank you, Victoria. I'm really shocked. My good senator is a lawyer, very grounded in law. We teach together, and we've done quite a lot of it. I had my president give his version of the story. Let me give you the genesis of what the law is. This law emanates from the people who were told yesterday to own corruption. They passed a constitution, and they inserted Article 49 and Article 50 in that constitution. And they said the right to bail is a constitutional right that cannot be denied to anybody unless serious circumstances or conditions are produced that will make that person denied bail. That is Wanjiku. 42 million Kenyans said that. The same Wanjiku told the president in Article 3 that the rule of law shall be followed whether anybody is a president or anybody is what. So therefore, all the people who are before court are innocent. until they have been convicted. The right to own property is a right that is a constitutional right, unless the state has evidence. This country cannot go to the mob justice during Jesus' time, when the judiciary that time said, we have no evidence against this guy. But the mob is saying, give us to kill him. And the judiciary said, okay, to us, he has not committed an offense. There he is. That mob lynching cannot be at this time of the constitutional democracy called Kenya. Let me give you a very good example. The president's case and the deputy president's case at the ICC. The ICC Act, the Rome Statute, provided for that once you have been charged there, there's no bail. The president, the deputy president, and all the 6 accused people put up a serious question before the ICC. Is that constitutional? Are you presuming us to be guilty? The law had to be amended. The president and his deputy were allowed on bail. They did their case when they are still out. We cannot have 2 positions. Everybody is innocent. I put it to you, the other time in 2012, when some civil society group went to block President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto from being nominated to contest for 2013 election, the court's 5-bench court said they are innocent until they have been convicted. That is the standard. So when the president was talking, I saw a political president, not a legal president. When you see the DPP saying the judiciary is the weakest link, the judiciary does not make the law. When Jiko made the law, Parliament is here, they make the law. The judiciary cannot create a law by themselves. Under the policy guidelines for bail, I'll tell you, Victoria, and the public, that I am defending not only one to the tune of 20 anti-corruption cases. The law must be followed. Once they will be convicted, then they will be punished within the law. But we cannot punish people just because they are flying with a helicopter. Is it an offense to own property? It is an offense to own illegal property. The illegality of a property must be assessed and decided within the law.
Right.
So in my own view, I think the president was telling people what they need to do is true. It is the citizens who bribe. But have the systems that make the systems bribe been addressed? For example, look at the law of a traffic offense. Missing a belt, not to belt up, the fine is 100 shillings. You are driving you are moving from Kakamega to Kisumu for a function at 8. Then you are arrested that your belt is, you have not tied a belt. You are dragged to court. The whole day you are in court. That is the procedure. You must take a plea, get a lawyer, defend yourself, mitigate, and you are fined 100
So
shillings.
who's the real culprit in frustrating the GRAFT?
The systems. We must go to address the systems. Are the systems right? If the president and the DPP think that it is about individuals, we cannot succeed in addressing the question of corruption. We must start looking at the systems and address those weak points of the systems. How do we deal with them? That is the only way we'll achieve. But the president has 99% goodwill of every citizen, because the impact of corruption is such a serious issue. And we should also look in a perspective manner that how has corruption been fought worldwide? We cannot reinvent the wheel the Kenyan way.
You know, and just to add something very important. That's why I said the fight against corruption can be won by government, and we also blaming the president and the executive for the runaways, corruption in this country. One, we have not seen the government doing what we call a root cause analysis to find out which are the ways that people are using to siphon money, and they tell us the country what systems you have put in place to prevent such acts of people just siphoning money just like that. We are focusing too much on what was already been stolen. But we are not preventing from this money again being stolen tomorrow and going forward. So I want to tell the president and his men that we should see little of their pronouncement, but we should see most of the actions, particularly aimed at preventing these vices from taking place again going forward.
So again, systems is the problem.
No.
Really quickly.
I have a comment, and normally when you want to fight corruption and when you want to, follow the law, it's important to note that the fight against corruption actually has to take two facets. It has to take the legal perspective and also the political perspective. And Danson actually dwells too much, really, on the legal, which in that line he's quite in order. But again, you also need to note that you cannot only use the legal means to fight corruption. There is need to actually come out politically. And sometimes we say the law actually follows social transformation in the society. And when the president now is kind of asking the country, can't we actually even almost saying that, can we actually presume these people who are seen to be corrupt actually almost guilty before they actually, convicted in a court of law? What he's just trying to say is that we need now to look at it more politically, and probably using that political pressure, our parliamentarians here, the senators, the MPs actually can now have a buy-in into what the president is saying, so that they come in and support this kind of push by also changing the law. Because as we clearly say, we really do not have a bond act, bail and bond act, but of course we do have something that the judiciary has come up with to guide them, because there is really nothing to guide them. So that's why in 2015 they came up with the board and policy guidelines. And you see, the Parliament can actually then come up with this and help the president then to kind of now have a way of addressing the issues of corruption going forward. And that way then, it is politics that will be informing the legal changes in the country. And that way, we will all be talking in the same language. So
it's a two-pronged fight, legal and political.
Yeah. No, my point was, one, on his argument that Article 49, the way it has been crafted, appears not to favor the president's sentiments. I tend to disagree, because Article 49, the way it is crafted, says, yes, every person is entitled to bail, except in what we call exceptional circumstances. But it does not define what are exceptional circumstances. So therefore, it's upon an individual magistrate to decide whether this is an exceptional circumstances, this is not. And it is that discretion which the president is saying, okay, you have that discretion, but ensure you exercise it in a manner that rhymes and coincides with public interest. And the public interest is people to see these people who are being taken to court not getting what is called a free pass. On your argument as to what the president is doing going forward, government has done a lot of intervention. Number one, it has brought the so-called IFMIS program. Of course, we have seen that is not tamper-proof. There are people who have designed mechanisms of interfering and manipulating that system. But the point is, it's a way forward. It's a good attempt. Number two, the government the other day gave a direction that every procurement meeting, the minutes of that procurement meeting ought to be made public. Which to me, again, it shows that it's a good effort. The government is doing something going forward to ensure there is access of information which is provided for under the Constitution. There is openness, so that we don't have what is called an opaque system where one can do whatever he wants to do. And thirdly, and this is my final point on that point, is to ensure Parliament, as the entity which has been given the work of oversighting government operations, harass the so-called oversight reports, which reports are handled by Public Investments Committee of the National Assembly and also Public Accounts Committee of both the Senate and the National Assembly. For the last time, for the longest time, we have been having a situation where those reports pile for a very long time. But now going forward, we are going to ensure that all those things are done in a more faster manner, in a more efficient way.